this episode on Tuesday, September 1st. So getting right back on recording. I think I recorded my last episode on Sunday night after the Nuggets game, the Nuggets Jazz game that Jamal Murray, scored another 50 points in, forced a Game 7, which is tonight. And I unfortunately will actually not be able to watch it live, as crazy as that might sound. So before they delayed all these games, and we knew what the schedule of this Game 7 would be, with it rescheduled, before Game 7 wouldn't have been this day for this series. And so I bought tickets to go see Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan movie, with some friends. And so yeah, that's tonight. And it's the movie starts at 6. The game starts at 7:30 here Central Time. So I am going to miss the beginning of it because Tenet's runtime is like 2 hours 30 minutes. Gonna come home right after though, and I have it set to record on YouTube TV, the game. So I'm just gonna watch from the beginning. Gonna turn off like the notifications and stuff from my phone. Not gonna let any people try to talk to me about it. I just want to watch it. But yeah, so it's really unfortunate that happened the same day as this. But I am really excited for the movie too. It looks really interesting. But yeah, obviously did not really want it to be at the same time that Game 7 of the Nuggets in the playoffs was going on. But yeah, so that was unfortunate. But I'll survive. One thing that has happened since the last time I recorded was Brandon Ingram won Most Improved Player. I think that's the only new award that's been announced since the last one. I think we've talked about Coach of the Year and DPOY. I think those are the only two that have happened before this one. And so now there's Most Improved Player. Brandon Ingram won it. If you listen to my episode where I talked about all of the smaller season awards, I touched on Most Improved Player. And I talked about my take for it, basically. And this is one of the awards that I basically had two choices. I had like an exception for who I was picking because I thought Luka was the most improved player in the league this year, from last season to this season. But many people, when voting for this award, tend to not count second-year players or not consider them, because they feel it's an unfair advantage to be a second-year player in this award, because you're usually, that's the biggest jump you make in your entire career is between your first and second year in the league. So a lot of people just don't count them. So that's why they get less votes. And Luka I knew from the beginning Luka probably wasn't going to win it, just because that's the attitude or the philosophy that a lot of people have with it. I'm not sure if I really agree with it or not, whether or not it should be a rule. And if it's a rule, then we should make it a rule. If it's not a rule, then I'm not gonna vote that way. But so I kind of gave an exception with that and gave my pick on who it would be if we didn't count second-year players. So if we didn't count second-year players, I couldn't pick Luka. I would pick Brandon Ingram, and so that is who won the award. And who I kind of thought would win it. I knew it was going to be, obviously had to be either Ingram or Adebayo, because those were the three finalists, including Luka. But I've in my mind, I think Ingram had the bigger jump this year than Adebayo did. And personally, I thought that someone like Sabonis could have probably been put over there over Adebayo, in my opinion. But so yeah, that was a very well-deserved award by Brandon Ingram. Also sad to see we didn't get Siakam winning it twice, which he was a pretty legit candidate this year for it too, again. But yeah, he didn't win it, and he wasn't in the top 3 finalists, sadly. But yeah, good job to Brandon Ingram. Yeah, then also, unfortunately, another thing that happened, I think it was on Sunday actually, John Thompson, the Hall of Fame Georgetown Hoyas longtime coach, passed away. And it's been kind of weird this past week. I feel like a lot of people associated with the NBA, associated with basketball culture, passed away. It was kind of weird with Lute Olson and Cliff Robinson, and then also Chadwick Boseman, who's pretty involved with a lot of people in the NBA, and now John Thompson. And in this year, we've had obviously Kobe and Jerry Sloan, David Stern, I think, was really late 2019, but, it was still very recent. It's just kind of odd how many, big basketball names we're losing right now. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I feel like that's more than usual, but yeah, John Thompson, I've always kind of admired him. I liked seeing him in like the Allen Iverson documentary and, other just basketball documentaries that I watched growing up. I always thought, the towel over his shoulder was like a cool thing to do as a coach. And also just like how, aside from being like an X's and O's coach, he was all about like bettering students as people, as individuals, building their character and, raising them up as men, basically. His philosophy and just attitude about all of that stuff was something really cool to see as well, how he shaped the lives of so many people who came through the Georgetown program. But yeah, he's definitely a respectable figure, and that's just pretty sad. But yeah, and also on NBA on TNT the other night, I think it was on last night on Monday night, the whole crew, Ernie, Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq, all wore towels over their shoulder the whole night, in ode to him, basically. So that was pretty cool too. But yeah, back to just basketball, playoff basketball. Since last I recorded, the Heat and Bucks played their game last night at like 5:30, I think, Central Time. But yeah, so I got another one right at least for game one. The series obviously isn't even close to over. But, the two teams that I picked to win the second round in the East won game one. The Heat beat the Bucks. And I think a lot of the stuff I broke down in my last episode about this series in forming my prediction, you could kind of see some of the things I was talking about, like with like going down the stretch. Jimmy Butler was, scoring in isolation, getting a bucket at the end of the game. And, the last few possessions down the stretch. And the last few possessions down the stretch, the Bucks tried to go to both Giannis and Middleton. The last couple possessions, they went to Giannis, and Giannis turned it over in the last couple of possessions. And, he was trying to create a drive, but the defense was just playing really intense, as they were all game. They made life hard for Giannis the entire game. That was another thing I talked about with Bam Adebayo guarding Giannis, which he did a decent amount in the game. And he did good. I think everybody did good while they were on him. The Heat's defense was just really intense this entire game. Like really just the way the Heat were playing, they really came to play this game as I assumed they would. They came out really intense. Defensively, I think they started with Jay Crowder guarding Giannis, and he was doing a decent job as far as guarding Giannis goes. They had Jimmy on him in some sets, and Bam on him pretty good amount of time as well. But yeah, when they had Bam starting at center, so when they had like Brook Lopez out there with Giannis, or another traditional center there, they would put Bam on that center, which I understood. Also, something we saw from Coach Bud was like different than usual. He tried some new things offensively. We got to see Brook Lopez kind of go to the post a little bit, because I guess he in the scouting report knew that Bam Adebayo would be starting at 5, and thought Bam Adebayo is a little bit small for a 5. He makes up for his size disadvantage with his leaping ability and stuff in like the full court sense. But if I just put Brook Lopez down there on the block and post him up, Brook Lopez can probably score over him, and that was a good idea because Brook Lopez did do that a few times. But yeah, this wasn't the series that I would expect Bud to break that out in. I thought that it would take something much more, that like I talked about in recent episodes, or in my earliest episodes, really, with the Clippers series, if they were to face the Clippers in the finals, and the Clippers putting like JaMychal Green or Marcus Morris in at 5 to punish Brook Lopez for not being in the paint at all, just always being out, just stretching the floor, not needing to defend that with size. But yeah, so he pulled it out even earlier than I would have expected by posting up Brook Lopez, but it didn't work in the big scheme of the whole game, but he did get some points out of it. But yeah, the Heat were shooting pretty well, like I thought they would. Kelly Olynyk came in and hit a 3 or 2, I think. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, all those guys were hitting. And yeah, Dragic had a really good game, and Jimmy Butler had a very good game. I believe he had a career high. in the playoffs for he scored 40 points. But yeah, it was a really good game from the Heat. I think the series is going to be really good, as do I for the Celtics and Raptors series as well, which is actually going on right now, game 2. I just got off work and I'm going to the movie soon. And yeah, I just decided to record really quick. But yeah, that game is in the second quarter, 33-34 Raptors. So yeah, I'm guessing this one will be close as well. And I think Celtics will win most close games against the Raptors. As the same thing with the Heat versus the Bucks. I think the Heat are going to win most close games against them. And that also kind of brings me into the Thunder Rockets, the OKC Houston series, because in this series so far, the 3 games that the Rockets won were all by double digits or more, by, one of them by like 40. They handled it pretty well in the 3 games that the Rockets won. In the 3 games that the Rockets lost and the Thunder won, they were really close. And what I think that means is it's something that we've seen from the Thunder all year long, which is that they win most close games they're in, because same type of thing I've been talking about with the Heat and the Celtics. The Thunder have guys that can score when they need it most at the very end of the game. They have Chris Paul, who's made a living out of that, one of the best probably ever to do that, especially at this age. And then Dennis Schroeder and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari can all get their shot pretty reasonably in the flow of a half-court set. And on the Rockets side, you really got Harden and Russ. And Lou Dort has been making life hard on Harden this entire series. Russell Westbrook wasn't phenomenal in his 2 games so far back. He turned the ball over quite a bit last game and turned it over a lot at the very end of the game, which wasn't good. Eric Gordon wasn't really playing super well, especially in terms of creating his own shot. So Eric Gordon, I would say, would be really your only other option for that. Maybe Jeff Green, if you're having a really good Jeff Green night, which you already had one of those this series. I believe that was game 1 or 2. Yeah, so I doubt you're going to get another one. But yeah, I picked the Rockets last episode and the episode before that, I think, for this series. And, while I'm not going to just say that I'm not, that never happened or that prediction didn't happen, for this one game, I'm kind of feeling Thunder. Like I want Thunder to win, and I feel like they can do it. But it'll be a good one, and I really need to tune into this one. I've missed too many games this playoffs. Just life and plans and things happening, but I really want to catch these games. Now that it's we're getting in the second round and getting a really good series. But yeah, I'm pulling for the Thunder. Hopefully they win. Yeah, I think that is actually it for now. I don't think I have anything else to touch on. Maybe I'll just upload this actually really quick. Maybe not. Yeah, I think, because this is only 17 minutes, and I won't have time to edit and upload all this before I go to the movie. Sadly, it does take a little bit of time to do that, and I need to leave actually really soon. So I'll probably record a little bit more tonight after the Nuggets game, and I'll just put that on the back end of this episode. So you'll hear me skip through time by a few hours in a little bit, and you'll hear future me talking after my reaction of whatever happened. Maybe I won't record a reaction if it was an awful game, or if if Nuggets had a painful loss or something. Maybe I just won't want to. I don't know. But yeah, so whatever's coming up next, I guess be ready for. Hello, this is future me now, which, that takes on a whole new meaning now that it did earlier, because I just watched Tenet tonight, the new Christopher Nolan movie. Yeah, so it was pretty wild. I'm probably going to have to go watch it again sometime to fully grasp it all. But there's a lot. Yeah, I'd encourage anybody who likes any other Christopher Nolan movies like Inception or Interstellar, the Dark Knight series, or The Prestige, or movies like that. You should go see this one too. But yeah, I'll talk about basketball So that game was pretty nuts. Game 7, Nuggets Jazz, just got over like a few hours ago. I watched with a friend, so we were behind like about an hour was our ending compared to real life ending, and I didn't let any of my other friends text me or spoil it for me. So, but yeah, that was nuts. I feel really lucky that we won at the end. Torrey Craig missed a really easy layup. But yeah, what forced that turnover though in the first place was my man, Gary Harris, who I told you guys he was the difference maker. I love just how many possessions he gives us. I feel like he just does it at a rate higher than so many other people on our team. Basically everybody, I'd say. And yeah, defense on both sides of the floor were just so locked in this game. It was a pretty ugly game 7, just in terms of scoring, because of how intense the defense was on both sides and how I think frantic ball handlers and shooters were looking on offense. There's a lot of pressure. Kind of turned into like a rock fight. The final score is 80-78, which is really low scoring, especially for this year. And Murray finished with 17, Mitchell with 22, very different than other games this series. And Jokic finished with like 30 or 32, I think. Yeah, so he had 30, 14, and 4, which I was surprised he didn't have more assists. He only had 4. I thought he had quite a few like those handoffs that turned into scores. But yeah, it was a pretty ugly game just because of the defense, like I said before. Gary Harris played 26 minutes this game. Again, wasn't too much of a factor offensively, but I thought did a great job on defense. When we had him and Craig in there at the same time, I felt like our defense was just at a whole nother level. But yeah. And one thing, the first half was looking really good for the Nuggets, and I figured, there's probably going to be a bit of a turnaround in the second half, which there was. But in the first half, what Quinn Snyder and the Jazz were doing were trapping Murray at half court, just double teaming him as soon as he crossed half court, really just get the ball out of his hands. And that was something that I like kind of wanted to happen before this game started, because I was too worried about Murray having to show out one-on-one again, like have another big game like he had. And instead they just went straight to double teaming him, which I was like, okay, that sounds good to me. I'm fine with that, because then you're giving up that mismatch after. As soon as the ball gets out of Murray's hands, then we have a numbers advantage for a little bit. And especially when we had Michael Porter in there, he was exploiting that a lot. Like every time the ball ended up in Porter's hands, he was either open for a 3 or he was able to attack a driving lane that was open because they were missing a guy. And he scored 10 points in a really short amount of time because of that. So I thought, it would have been a little bit better. Like in the first half, I thought we should have just kept Porter in there as long as he was kind of doing that over and over. I thought we were being a little bit sloppy with Jokic being a little bit, really aggressive in the paint, getting a lot of fouls called on him. I liked, a lot of his mid-range shots were going in. I thought we needed a little bit more of that. Like it was good to be inside the way he was, but with him being in foul trouble in this game, the reason why he was in foul trouble in this game, I feel like, is because of how aggressive we had him playing in the paint. So, but yeah, luckily we made it out alive. Yeah, so going up against Clippers next round, I picked Clippers. Just like I said before in the other episodes, I think it would be dumb to not pick them, just in terms of matchup wise and everything. The Clippers are just the better team, I'd say. Especially with us without Barton. I don't know if Barton will be available at all for this upcoming series. I think we need to put Harris back in the starting lineup over Monte Morris. I like the minutes with Monte Morris and Plumlee together coming off the bench. I think that's a good pairing that we should keep together. Gary Harris, I think, should be in the starting lineup. Put Murray at point guard. Harris can ball handle as well. So, yeah, I think that works fine, and that's probably what we should start going with. If Paul George is, towards the end of this Maverick series, he was looking like he started, getting a little bit more in the groove of things. I think that he's gotten a lot of his bad games out of the way in this playoff run. I feel like he's probably going to at least be average Paul George, which is going to be huge for them when they're both hitting shots, both Kawhi and Paul George, and I expect Kawhi to be come out guns a-blazing. I don't know who we will have guarding Kawhi. Probably Jeremy Grant, I'm guessing. Maybe Torrey Craig a bit too. I think Gary Harris is too small to put on Kawhi. But yeah, I think Grant would probably be the best, and put Craig on George. You might be able to do the other way around as well, just because Paul George is a little bit bigger than Kawhi, height-wise, but Kawhi is like broader, which Jeremy Grant is taller and skinnier, and Torrey Craig is a little bit shorter and a little bit more stocky compared to Grant. So yeah, maybe it would be better to put Craig on Kawhi. But yeah, we'll see with all of that, how that turns out. I am not feeling too good about it. Like, I feel like we could take a game or two, and there's a conceivable world where somehow we upset them. But like, yeah, I doubt it. I think Jokic is going to have a better series this series though. But Clippers have a really good defense outside of guarding Jokic. They're going to have a good perimeter defense. It'll be a hard series for sure. And another thing I probably should mention, I don't think I've talked about this in the recent episodes. I've recorded at least 2, I think, since this happened. No, I think just 1 actually. But on Sunday, when the Clippers sent the Mavs home, I believe that was on Sunday. Yeah, I think it was. Pretty sure. Yeah, it was. Marcus Morris got ejected in the first half, I think, when he kind of whacked Luka in the face pretty hard. It was pretty aggressive. I'm fine with him being ejected in that sense. And also I think that there's a lot of people saying that him stepping on the ankle wasn't intentional. I don't see how it wasn't. Like, maybe it's a coincidence, but with all the stuff that Morris has been doing with Luka this series, like, I feel like it was on purpose. And also how he walked like all the way up to Luka and like just went right at the ankle that was hurt and stepped on it, and then like he didn't look surprised after like he stepped on his foot and the shoe fell off. Like, he looked more like he was acting like, oh sorry man, and like picked up the shoe and gave it to him. Like, it just kind of looked fake, like how he was like acting with him afterwards. Some people were like, oh, but yeah, he's a good guy, he stopped and helped him, he gave him the shoe back and stuff. And it's like, well, no, yeah, he's doing that because he wants to make it look like he didn't try to do it. I feel like he did. But yeah, regardless, that series is over. That's just the way the Morris brothers are. They're tough guys. They're the guys that people like to say they get in people's heads. I mean, I can kind of see it a little bit. They're just being bullies. Like, you're making somebody angry. Is that the same thing as playing mind games? Like, I don't know. I don't like how, like, people call the Bad Boys Pistons, like, they're playing mind games. It's like, they're just knocking you to the floor. They're just being really physical with you. How is that a mind game? They're just being jerks. But like, I get like it's kind of a mental thing too, because you have to be mentally strong with it. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's better examples of mind games in basketball, but whatever. So sad for the Mavericks to be sent home, but Luka really showed out in this first round and proved why he's like the next star in this league, and already is a top 10 player in this league. So yeah, he showed out. He was amazing. My wife and I actually decided to name our first dog that we're going to get Luka, mainly just because we both like the name for a dog, and also because just what was happening with him in this series was just fun to watch, and I thought he deserved it. But yeah, besides that though, another thing I should probably mention also, I didn't talk too much about OKC and Houston. That game 6 that they forced a game 7. I talked about it a little bit, but I feel like I should mention more about how good of a game it was from Chris Paul, especially down the stretch, hitting big shot after big shot. Really closed out that game. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pull another one out like that tomorrow night. If it does end up close in the fourth quarter. But yeah. And then another thing was today before the Nuggets game, there was the Celtics Raptors game 2, which was much closer than the previous one was. It ended up 102-99, but Celtics pulled out another one, and due to the heroics of Marcus Smart, my friend Jacob, who's the Celtics fan, he just bought a Marcus Smart jersey today in honor of his performance. But yeah, it was a really good game from them, and I'm feeling good about this series for the most part. Raptors last season in the conference finals, actually, they went down 2-0 and then won the next 4. But yeah, I picked Celtics to come out of this series, and I'm definitely going to stick with that. But yeah, I think that's it though for this. I'm just proud of my Nuggets. Proud that we had Gary Harris back. Jamal Murray had a really good series. Hopefully he's still a reliable player moving forward. In that way, at least a little bit, being able to score in the high screen role the way he has been in this series. And yeah, Jokic moving forward, I just want him to continue to improve. Keep getting better at the crazy game that he already has. I'd like to see more distribution from him this next series with the Clippers. This series, there wasn't a whole lot of playmaking that he did. It was kind of weird. It was kind of a weird series for Jokic, I feel like, in terms of playmaking. It just didn't really happen that much. I feel like there just wasn't a whole lot of opportunities where somebody was like, cutting and getting wide open, something like that. But yeah, so we'll see. I think he was mainly looking to score first in this series, which I kind of want to happen again in round 2, but I also don't want him to pass up his playmaking opportunities that he gets. I'd like more of a balance, I guess, is what I'm saying. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else right now. I'll probably get this episode uploaded tomorrow, sometime before games start. And then I might record another one after the games tomorrow night. Maybe not if nothing too crazy happens. It's just going to be Bucks and Miami game 2, and then game 7 of Rockets OKC, which I think I'm going to pick OKC just for this game. Like before I was picking Rockets to win the series, which, you can still critique that prediction. Like that's still a prediction I made that I could be wrong on. But, for going into this game and this game alone, I'm kind of liking the Thunder in this, and I want the Thunder to win. I've wanted them the whole time, like personally, but I picked the Rockets in terms of thoughts of who's more likely to win, basically. But yeah, but it was really close. It has been this whole time. Coming into the series, I thought this was the hardest series to predict. I think I talked about it that way too. Yeah, so that should be it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you liked the podcast episode, please press the like button, and please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on Spotify, please consider following the Spotify feed. But yeah, as always, thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you guys next time.